Okay, everybody, we back here with another car video. I'm trying to actually push out a lot of content, so sometimes every time it's not going to be a reaction video. Sometimes it's going to be a video in a car. Probably going to be a lot of car videos, not going to lie. But anyway, I was watching this guy. I forget his name, and I know his name is Cal, right? I'll tag him into this video, as a matter of fact, talking about the so-called fake conservative punk movement, the conservatives that are trying to infiltrate the punk rock movement. As I talk about that, as I have my RKL hoodie on, but anyway, that's beside the point. But this has been a thing now where you will be in a punk rock group, whether it's on Reddit, Facebook. I don't think they had group settings on Instagram and stuff, and you will have some clown come in and say, why, either one or two things. A, you can be a conservative punk, or B, why is everybody making punk political? And I want to be clear about people that say this. They're liars, and they know that they're lying, and they're playing around. Because at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say never argue with conservatives to expose their flaws in logic or how ignorant that they sound and stuff, or even try to help somebody that really doesn't understand some complex issues in this country. But a lot of these people are lying, and they know that they're lying, and they're lying to you to waste your time. They are aware of pretty much everything that we say about punk rock, but they are just trying to make you mad first and foremost, and how you typing out paragraph, because it's really easy for a conservative, right-winger, white supremacist or whatever to say something really stupid, but it's very difficult for a leftist or a decent liberal to dispute it and debunk it and prove how flawed the logic is. So first of all, I want to talk about this. The punk rock movement in the 1980s, especially in America and the United Kingdom, was started as a response to Reaganism and Thatcherism, and the neoliberalization of the economy, the renormalization of white supremacy, homophobia, and sexism, and capitalist apologia that was promoted by the Reagan administration and the Margaret Thatcher administration. Lots of bands and people in general, and of course a lot of the hip-hop industry and jazz industry was a part of this too, but a lot of punk rock bands rose to spoke up about how ignorant, self-absorbed, anti-intellectual, and actually, ironically enough, deadly these ways of thinking are. And those bands included bands like MDC, RKL, which I'm wearing right here, Stalag 13, JFA, Black Flag, Subhumans, DRI, Toxic Holocaust, LA Wasted Youth. NoFX started playing in the early 80s. So did Bad Religion, and all these bands were left-wing anarchists that spoke about how the normalization of right-wing values was tearing apart society and literally causing the unaliving of people here and abroad. They spoke about things like racial equality, police brutality, into consumerism type culture, anti-militarism, and that's because these people were left-wing anarchists. And I'm not going to get into what anarchism actually means in this video, but the point is that these people were left-wing anarchists with a clear message against Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan and the type of policies and ideas that they tried to promote during the Cold War, at least, towards the latter part of it. So why did I bring this up? Because you got to keep in mind, punk rock is not very old. The ideas that it is disputing and fighting against, not really the ideas, but the political, what I want to say is that the political predecessors of the Reagan administration and the Thatcher administration are still alive. I know the American one better, being American, so it's like this. People who voted for Ronald Reagan and didn't like, Jimmy Carter, and you can even go back to Nixon and stuff. The people that voted for Nixon were right-wing white supremacists, and then they voted for Nixon. The people that voted for Reagan had the same ideals. I'm sure the people that supported Gerald Ford had the same ideals. Then after Reagan, they supported Bush Sr. And after Bush Sr., they supported Bush Jr. And after Bush Jr., they supported Donald Trump. And of course, during the early 2010s and what have you, I'm kind of going out of order, they voted for Mitt Romney. And I forget who the person that ran against Obama in 08 is, but I know for a fact that these people are ideologically in line with their predecessors. And they try to wipe history clean and pretend like there are some different kind of Republicans, or there are some different kind of people that accept what has now been fought for and made the status quo as far as racial progress, gender equality, equality for gay people and trans people, which we're still fighting for all this stuff. And there's no clear cut into this fight. But the point being is that they try to pretend like they are not the ideological predecessors of these people, because, and it's super ironic because a lot of these people that supported, especially Reagan all the way up to now, or Nixon up to now, because some of those people can still be alive possibly, they're still alive. The same people who were like the jocks in high school that was bullying a punk kid, calling the lesbian girl all sorts of slurs and pulling her hair and hiding her stuff. The same guys that were teaming up on the gay kid and trying to put their hands on them and stuff. The same people who were calling black kids that went to white schools slurs and stuff like that. These are the same people who are today Trump supporters. These people never went in the way, but they like to try to pretend they're a part of the narrative to make their concurrent views more acceptable. And they are aware of this, and like I said, it's done on purpose so they can promote their right-wing agenda. So we're going to move on because I'm running out of time. Break at work. But second to that, damn, that took a while to explain. But second to that, what I also wanted to say was conservatives are desperate to keep up with the narratives of an ever-changing world and pretend like they were on board with the change to begin with. That's why you have a lot of conservatives that will say like, oh, we were always for gender equality. Oh, if I was against, I would have been against segregation or slavery. But no, they wouldn't have. The narrative has just moved forward enough to show that these practices are morally abhorrent. So they co-opt onto what is now the status quo, which truly isn't the status quo, because despite legally on the books discrimination and oppression being illegal, rich people find a way around those laws to do it anyway. And that's a number of ways that can be spoken about. But the point being is that conservatives are desperate clowns constantly trying to adapt to an ever-changing narrative in an ever-changing world. And three, I also was going to say, it's also an apple and oranges thing. I do this proportion because sometimes they bring up arguments like, okay, so I know the smut peddlers, Dwayne Peters from the U.S. Bombs, and think Johnny Ramone or Ramone, I should say, are conservatives, right? But again, with all the bands I listed at the beginning of this video, it's clear that many people in this community are leftists. Look at what happened to Dwayne Peters. He said that nonsense and was a manga supporting fool, and now he's homeless. A pro skateboarder, I gotta say, great musician, but because he did not want to learn to be a better person and accept people that are different from the world that he is creating in his head, he's now homeless. So it's a clear myth that the leftist community has always been a part of the punk rock community and vice versa. And, I really need to make it clear again that, even the original quote unquote punk rockers, and I know some of these people making like the weird faces when they're in the pit, wearing some weird t-shirt and stuff like that are like 40 and 50 years old. I'm friends with a lot of these people, and I met a lot of these people in person, and they are not right-wing people. Even in their 50s and 60s and 40s and whatever, they still despise the narratives promoted by the right-wing agenda, and and right-wing narratives and capitalism, white supremacy, and whatever else have you. So again, this, and then last but not least, and I'm gonna end this video because we're coming up on 10 minutes anyway. Conservatives are desperate to infiltrate groups that oppose them, or groups that have potential to be rife with fascism in one way or another. So conservatives are at least loosely aware that their views are unacceptable in punk, but what they try to do is strong arm their way into different scenes and subcultures, so then that scene or subculture then eventually becomes conservative, like they did with gaming, like how they try to do with anime, and they will say anything, waste your time with conspiracy theories until they push you out of that group, and then they co-opt a narrative to be a part of what is now the status quo, which is them infiltrating the group and taking it over. That's the last, vestige of what they're trying to do. It just find subcultures with isolated people, promote false narratives and false information to get more followers to their cause. And that's really all I have to say for this. And actual punks, listen to music, go to the shows, and actually do things for their community, like I do with this YouTube channel, or like I try to do in person when people ask me about social problems. And these people, these right-wing narratives, directly contradict with what punk stood for and what was known as, if you were walking down the street, even if you were a skateboarder, and people still do it now. If you were a skateboarder, like skate punk, or you were a street punk, regardless of which style that you had, conservatives back in this day would not only, call the police on you, threaten to fight you, call you slurs and stuff like that. And again, these people are still alive, and some of these same people, because, crazy Facebook grandmas and whatever, or moms and whatever, and dads, mostly dads, to be honest with you, get on Facebook and pretend like they are not the ideological predecessors of people that voted for Ronald Reagan. But yeah, conservatism is not punk, and they are aware of the narrative, and they're just lying to infuriate people. So I say, when you see this online, tell a few jokes and then turn your notifications off, because these people aren't worth your time.